All right, today we're plugging into one of the most incredible rivalries in the history of technology. This isn't just a story about inventions, it's a story of genius, raw ambition, and a no-holds-barred fight that literally decided how we power the modern world. So how did a bitter feud between the world's most famous inventor, a visionary genius, and a powerhouse industrialist end up shaping the electrical grid that you and I rely on every single day? It's a wild story. Let's get right into it. Okay, so let's set the scene. It's the 1880s. Cities are still mostly lit by the dim, kind of gloomy flicker of gas lamps. Electricity, it's this new, almost magical thing that everyone wants. It promises a brighter, cleaner, and faster future. The race was on, but it wasn't just about who had the best light bulb. It was about who was going to build the entire system, the very infrastructure that would power the 20th century. And in this race, three titans step into the ring. First, you've got Thomas Edison, the Wizard of Menlo Park. I mean, this guy was a global celebrity, a true rock star of invention, and he was all in on his system, direct current, or DC. Then there's George Westinghouse, a sharp industrialist and a brilliant engineer in his own right. And finally, there's Nikola Tesla, a true visionary, a genius whose mind just seemed to operate on a totally different plane from everyone else. The whole fight really boils down to this: DC versus AC. Edison's direct current flowed in just one direction. He argued it was safer because it used a lower voltage. But here's the catch, the fatal flaw. It couldn't travel very far. You'd need a power plant pretty much every square mile. Think about that, a giant, noisy power station in every single neighborhood. On the other side, you have Westinghouse and Tesla with their alternating current, or AC. AC could be stepped up to a super high voltage to travel hundreds of miles with very little power loss, and then stepped back down to be used safely in your home. It was the clear winner for building a huge grid, but it had a serious image problem. All people heard was high voltage, and that sounded absolutely terrifying. And as this debate started to get really heated in public, I just want to take a quick second to say, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell, and share and like my videos. All the information in this explainer comes from open sources, thank you. Now, let's talk about how Edison decided to use that public fear as a weapon. In the late 1880s, the skies over cities like New York were just a chaotic mess of overhead wires. A lot of these high-voltage AC lines were poorly installed and dangerous, it's true. Horrific public accidents, like the one described here in the New York Times, created a very real sense of panic. And Thomas Edison, well, he saw an opportunity, not to make things safer, but to weaponize that fear against his rivals. So Edison launched what you can only call a brutal, downright dirty smear campaign. This was all about shocking the public. He and his associates started holding these gruesome public demonstrations where they would take stray animals, dogs, cats, even calves, and a horse, and electrocute them with AC power in front of reporters, all to prove how deadly it was. The goal was simple: to burn the image of death into the public's mind whenever they heard the words alternating current. And it got even uglier and way more personal. Edison's team actually tried to invent a new word for being electrocuted, to be Westinghoused. Just think about that for a second. He wanted to make his competitor's actual name synonymous with dying a horrible, painful death. It was an astonishingly cruel marketing tactic. But the darkest chapter of this whole campaign was, without a doubt, the electric chair. At the time, New York was looking for a so-called more humane way to execute criminals. Edison, who publicly claimed to be against capital punishment, saw his chance. He secretly worked with officials to make sure the chair would be powered by a Westinghouse AC generator. His logic was as cynical as it gets. If the state uses AC to kill people, who in their right mind would want that same death current flowing into their home? Now, this brings us to one of the most famous and horrifying stories from this whole era: the electrocution of Topsy the elephant. It's almost always held up as the final, terrible act in Edison's war against AC. But is that really what went down? So here's the real story. The most important fact is the date, 1903. By then, the War of the Currents was long over. AC had already won, hands down. Edison himself had no direct role in killing Topsy, but, and this is a huge but, his film company recorded the whole gruesome event, and by releasing that film, his famous name became tied to it forever. Topsy became this powerful, lasting symbol of the very fear campaign he had started more than a decade earlier. So while Edison was busy running his campaign of fear, what was Tesla doing? He was busy innovating. His masterpiece, the thing that changed everything, was the AC induction motor. See, before Tesla, There wasn't a really good, simple motor that could run on alternating current. His invention was the missing piece of the puzzle. It suddenly made AC not just a way to send power over long distances, but a practical way to use that power, to run machinery, to do work. It was a total game changer. So, how do you fight back against a campaign built entirely on fear and misinformation? Well, Tesla's answer was pure spectacle and scientific genius. He held these incredible public demonstrations where he would stand on a stage and let hundreds of thousands of volts of high-frequency AC flow right across his own body. Tongues of electric flame would shoot from his fingertips, and he'd light up light bulbs in his bare hands completely unharmed. And this really shows you the fundamental difference between the two men, right? Edison used the death of animals to try and make his point. Tesla used his own body as living proof. He chose to educate and absolutely dazzle the public instead of trying to terrify them. He showed everyone that AC wasn't some uncontrollable monster. It was a powerful force that, if you understood it, could be harnessed safely. The real turning point came in 1893. Westinghouse and Tesla landed the contract to light the massive Chicago World's Fair. And for the first time, hundreds of thousands of people got to see the beauty and power of AC on a grand scale. The entire fairgrounds, nicknamed the White City, was a breathtaking spectacle of light, all powered by the very technology Edison had worked so hard to demonize. It was an absolute home run, a massive public relations victory. But the final knockout blow was delivered at Niagara Falls. The challenge was epic. How do you harness one of the most powerful forces of nature on the planet? There was really only one system that could do it. Westinghouse, using Tesla's brilliant polyphase AC system, won the contract. And in 1896, when they flipped the switch and power from Niagara Falls lit up the city of Buffalo, over 20 miles away, that was it. The war was over. AC hadn't just won the future, it had become the present. So in the end, Edison lost the war of the currents. His fear campaign failed, and the victory for AC was so complete that his own company, which would eventually become General Electric, had no choice but to start using AC technology. But this fierce and frankly brutal competition pushed innovation forward at an incredible speed. The world got the superior electrical system, and that system paved the way for the connected, electrified planet we live on today. But here's a fascinating final thought for you. AC won the war, and it still powers the grid that brings electricity to your wall outlet. But look around. Your smartphone, your laptop, the massive battery pack in an electric car, all of that runs on DC. So in this new world of portable electronics and battery storage, is Edison's direct current the loser of that first Great War, quietly staging a massive comeback? It's an amazing echo of a battle fought over a century ago, and it's still shaping the world we're building right now.